To tell you what every couple needs to know about marriage and wedding planning is marriage counselor Dr. Rita DeMaria. Hi, nice to see you.
You too.
So there is a difference between
absolutely.
a marriage, obviously, and a wedding.
Right. Well, the wedding's the celebration.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part.
And that's what you think you don't want to end. That's what you don't want to end, but unless you plan for the future.
Right. And most couples don't know these days that there really is a lot of new information and important information for them to have that can really help them increase the likelihood that they're going to have a great marriage.
Okay, so let's just rewind a little bit. We just saw the holiday season, a lot of engagements, New Year's Eve. Can you imagine how many rings were given out that night?
A lot.
Okay, so all these couples are now at this point planning for these big weddings.
Right.
What do we need to do to plan a little bit further than that?
Well, the first thing they have to realize is just because they're in love doesn't mean everything's just going to work out. We have a belief that, you know, if you love somebody, everything will work out. It's just natural. But the fact is there are knowledge, skills that we can learn that will really ensure the relationship. Learning how to communicate, number one. Every couple knows there's communication. Learning how to talk on your own behalf, listening to your partner. But that's important for resolving conflicts, which we who are married for a while know are inevitable, which when you're in the glow of planning a wonderful wedding and, you know, you're not so sure that there are going to be so many problems, but we know there will be. There'll be financial problems, there'll be time problems, there'll be sexual problems, there'll be all kinds of issues that will come up.
What happens? So many times people say, don't jump into something, don't jump into a marriage when you've only been dating a short period of time, don't get engaged yet. But I don't know, sometimes I think about it and I think, yeah, chances are it may not work out. But your advice would be easier to follow because you haven't set a pattern. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes and no, because, you know, when you're in that in-love stage, you don't really listen to much of anything from anybody.
True.
Right. So we actually know that if it's a little longer than 2 years that you've known somebody, it actually increases the likelihood that your relationship is going to go better. So that if you know somebody 6 weeks and get engaged and are married in 9 months, you know, you're still in that glow. You haven't really had a chance to find out.
Oh, that honeymoon phase.
Yes.
Let's remember.
Yes. Wonderful. And, you know, you can keep that going by having relationship skills. We've really learned over the last 10, 15, 20 years that if couples learn the essential relationship skills and have the knowledge, that they can actually have a much more passionate, romantic, and loving relationship over the long haul than compared to when they first get together, which is very exciting.
What advice can you give for support when you think about that pattern that's already been set? And it's not like I can go home tonight and say, hey, honey, let's communicate better.
Yes.
You know, look at me like I'm crazy and go,
I'm an advocate of relationship education classes. I've been teaching them for a number of years. I think they're really essential. Going to clergy members, seeing if your church, synagogue, someplace, community center will have these classes. The other thing is you do get to meet other couples. And one of the great things is when we find out that other couples have problems, because sometimes we think it's only us. You know, it's my problem or my husband's problem. And we find out, you know, you have problems, your husband has problems, they have problems. You know, actually, I like my problems better than your problems. So it kind of normalizes it because we have a tendency to beat ourselves up. So I think involving clergy, getting, you know, people like myself who work with couples, we know a lot that we can teach people. And it's really essential in that, you know, planning for your marriage. Take a premarital education class. There are inventories you can take. There's actually one that I use called Prepare. It's 165 questions. You get a report back, and it actually shows all the good things you have, but also areas that you might want to pay attention, like maybe you don't agree too much about, you know, how to spend your free time.
So what happens? Take the 165 questions. I would fill it out. My husband would fill it out separately, obviously, right?
Right.
And then we would compare?
And then
we'd get graded on it?
Well, it's not a grade, obviously. But yeah,
I'd get an A.
Right. But yeah, you'd compare the results. You'd see the results. Everything would be talked about. And it really gives you a window into your relationship. And for couples that are getting married, I think it's absolutely essential. If, you know, sort of one thing I could get newly engaged couples to do would be to find somebody, their clergy person or somebody else in the community, a therapist or someone else, who could give them an inventory to take. And then they'll know what they need to work on. And there are wonderful programs out, wonderful classes and experiences that people can take now.
What can you say about the quirks? You know, I have different issues. My husband has different issues. Every couple. And sometimes if you don't live together ahead of time, You don't know that they don't put the cap on the toothpaste. That's a little one. But
yeah, well, and one of our first issues was I bought the Crest toothpaste, and he wanted Colgate, because that's what his mother bought, that's what my mother bought. We really hadn't thought about it.
Colgate.
Yeah, well, I'm a Crest person, so, but we have our differences. But the issue is, how do you talk about them? How do you share about it? How do you resolve it? Some people stuff it. They just... I'm not going to say anything, I don't want to make any waves. Well, you have a few of those add up, and over the years, all of a sudden you have...
Colgate and Crest can turn into a great big fight. I want to thank you so much. What do you use now, Crest or Colgate?
Well, we have all brands.
Okay, all brands. Thank you so much. Thank you.